lot of times when I'm working with someone and a stage comes up really strong, you know, I don't know if you get it this way, but in treatments, there are a number of contacts that seem to be more significant than other ones. Some seem to be more like passing phases of the treatment, and other ones seem to be real significant adjustments of the treatment. And there can be often one that seems to be what everything's revolving around. So I asked myself, you know, just like something that I do for my continual understanding of what I'm doing, is like if that contact, like that stage, seems to be the one that the treatment's revolving around, then I ask myself, well, let's say if it's stage 2, seems to be a real significant adjustment for them. I'll ask myself, how can I see fear of the future behind what's going on with them? You know, a force that's creating stress right now. Sometimes I'll ask them, you know, and it's often that they'll confirm that that's an operating emotion for them. We don't usually think of fear of the future as an emotion, but it creates emotion, creates anxiety, creates fear. So we could say also fear of the future, or projected in the future, is an emotion, and they will confirm that they're having issues. They're having challenges based around what's going to happen in the next week, month, year, whatever. And so that's what I ask myself when these knee contacts are coming up. Does this person seem to be having a lot of challenges right now with change? Now, change is always going on. We probably look at ourselves at any given moment of any day and realize that we've got some challenge with change, but sometimes it's more a critical challenge. So that's what I would think, you know, when these knee contacts come up. I try to see, you know, how it might be that they're struggling with change. Life change is, of course, more difficult than, let's say, could be more difficult than some, you know, changing, you know, needing to get a new car, changing automobiles, changing, you know, clothes, struggling with changing their hairstyle. You know? I mean, they're all life changes, but they're all things that people might struggle with. Some people are really attached to that because it's period-based, you know. I know people that maybe, you know, were in a certain period of time when they got really attached to their style. But somehow, being attached to that is also attached to maybe certain attitudes that are no longer serving them. And I can tell you that when I see that, certain styles that they're connected to, and there's certain adjustments that go on, especially like, let's say suddenly there's really big independent sacral motion, I could almost predict within the next 2 months they're going to change something about their appearance. It's not bothering me, you know what I mean? But it's like connected to the attachment they have to certain attitudes and certain environments that are no longer serving them. And that's one of the stresses that's bringing them in. And one of the things that's sabotaging their whole existence in that moment, their relationships or whatever, their job, whatever, ability to, you know, execute projects or whatever. And without a doubt, when they hit a certain level of ease and there's certain kind of reactions like independent sacral motion, these paravertebral spasm type things, they are going to start to shed some of that old skin. You want to come up, take a look? Let's take a look at that. So I do have radiation all through here. And here's the situation with the short leg is on the right side. And so what I would do is challenge here. That's where I feel the most radiation. And also have good contact with that ligament. So it's not that convincing. there's another possibility. That's more convincing right there. Did you see it?
Mm-hmm.
I did. So I would take, and I do, with these, most of the time I'm doing torquing as well. And I have the radiation, but also when you palpate around here, you get that critical point sensation. Now the only thing that's maybe going against me right now with this is that I did get the radiation there, but I'm not that much into the phase 2. So we'll see. And you'll feel the ease come all the way down to your finger. So even though, well, you know, it seems like the ease and the breathing and the meninges is here, you'll feel that spread. Cool. Not a bad contact. So I find these knee contacts a lot more often than I find the heel contacts, just to say that. And a lot of times if I get radiation at the heel or the knee, but I'm not in the second phase motion, a lot of times I'll still stick with the procedure and the normal contacts. Because I find that they're not as effective unless you've got clear second phase movement. And the one thing that I don't like doing when I give a treatment, probably you don't either, but I don't like to feel like I'm wasting time. Because in any given moment, you can do so many things at this point. You know so many things. And maybe from the standpoint of just, I don't know, like, just like basic body work. You know, you could do anything, and it's all useful. It's like at any given moment, I could just do the whole body outline mindlessly. Other than, you know, don't force, use your hara. And then no diagnosis, no nothing, just go through the routine. And afterwards, you're supposed to go, wow, that feels great. Now, if you study for a lot of years and spend a lot of money going to classes, that's really disappointing in a way. Sometimes I think, well, I could have stopped right after the beginner's weekend and done fine. And it may be because you're thinking about too many things that you don't get results at that point. Stop thinking. But, yeah, so that seemed to be pretty good. Now, I have equal legs, but that has that situation of difficult adduction. Just like some kind of thing is like really pulling it back into this ease. So that would maybe seem to be staged. So let's see. Yeah, that definitely was. Big release of the difficult adduction, and as I said numbers of times, that the equal legs with difficult adduction, you challenge that, the difficult adduction goes away, but then you get a significant short leg, and that's what we have there. feel our body more at ease. I feel like the contact's finished. And I did feel ease come to the finger, but the general body, and she's not like demonstrating a lot of movement, but I feel like there was more movement and you could feel the body going to ease. But where is my alert response right now? It's here. And it's here in terms of feeling that the vertebrae and the ribs together are restricted. And so what I feel like I want to do is, I don't know if I would be able to actually define this as a contact or not, but that whatever wants to move through in terms of impulse or vibration or anything. And so I want to, so if I press down on the ribs like that, follow that through to the articulations at the vertebrae, and there's two for each rib. The articulation at the transverse process, and then it goes through and articulates at the body of the vertebrae. So there's two articulations there. You want to point those out? Or? Yeah, and then it should go through and touch onto the body of the vertebrae. And sometimes, how you release it. So you can do kind of a compression, and when you compress, it's going to press down, but oftentimes release the compression here. You give more space in here, and then to release, kind of creates a kind of pumping it, or like a jump start. And a lot of times you'll feel that it allows more movement to go through. From there, you might get a jump start. I think we got a little jump start there. A little more movement in that area. But the other thing is that it could draw you in that moment to shifting to the more structural oriented work. Working with the rib rocking, working with the vertebrae, paravertebral muscles, because you realize that the central channel just can't move through there. Like more movements really happen because it's locked up, and it needs more of this physical, structural type of work. So then you might shift out of the central channel for a few minutes, work with that area. When you release the central channel, also you're releasing the joints, the different techniques of rib rocking, or like this kind of compression release technique. That also creates a very good atmosphere to work with chakras. So that depends on whether you've done chakra work or not. But chakras ultimately, to be, balanced, need to penetrate the body. When you've got rigid joint articulations, you've got restricted fascia, it minimizes the ability of the chakra vibration to penetrate the body and activate the glands and organs and the nerve plexus that it needs to activate. And the other thing to notice is that the chakras, which are front and back, run right along governing vessel, conception vessel. So they directly interface with governing vessel, conception vessel. Or you might say, governing vessel, conception vessel translate to some degree the chakra energy to the body. They're an intermediary for that. So, very important. And the fact that they lie on that path is is important. So, I don't know if I would do that right now with Laura, but it popped in my mind, and when things do pop in my mind, I'm just thinking, well, it might be. I'm not saying it is definitely, but it might be for a reason. It's like following where your attention goes. And remember, we did that this morning. think sometimes it's really useful during, when you're giving a treatment, when you're doing relaxing at any point, just to notice, well, where's my attention going? Let me follow that. Let me see where it's taking. And I've talked about it before, that so often when growing up, we were told not to do that. It was called daydreaming. It was called letting your mind wander. And so we continue to allow that to be an unconscious process in our life, where in fact I believe, from my experience, that oftentimes it's soul related. And if you're conscious during that, you can really learn a lot about what's going on. So what I feel like now is that I was able to, just using like more manual, structural, type of work, soften this up. So I think that there's a lot more possibility for the flow of energy through there, which is governing vessel. The diagnosis for governing vessel is what? It's not pulse, it's not hara, it's not, what is it? It's the sum total of motion. So when we see motion, we see the governing vessel. So I get all wound up when I start talking about this. Still have kind of a heaviness in the feet there. But when I did the challenge on stage 4, everything lightened up down there. Kind of went at ease and it lightened up. The legs are equal, the feet are equal, but it still has this kind of heavy feeling to it. Crown radiation, legs are equal. Radiation down there, the coccyx, so it seems like it's 5 feet. But I'll show you something that we'll talk about again, so don't try to remember this necessarily. I'll definitely do it. Instead of doing C5, remember B was C5 in the tip of the coccyx, where I'm thinking it's better contact is at the external occipital protuberance. So I'm going to do that. Definitely going to expand the combinations of double contacts on stage 5 when we get there. What I feel like I want to do is this. I changed my mind. And what that led me to is I want to do that thing where instead of the C5 contact, I extend the head. Do you remember that? And when you extend the head, you can also, I'm just using the body, the headpiece, instead of holding the head, but you can also try to create some repositioning by moving it side to side or turning it a little bit. We've had these classes, you've all seen me working before, and a lot of times I leave a lot of space between the contacts, but sometimes I'm not leaving a lot of space between the contacts, so I'm kind of moving a lot faster now. And where I want to do is go and make a contact on CV17 in the front of the body while she's in supine position. And we'll talk about these anterior contacts, which we can make either in the prone position or in the supine position, anterior contacts. of stuff, but what I wanted to concentrate on most was the knee contacts and the ankle contacts, and right there for a few moments was an atmosphere shift. That was a moment where everything seemed to be silent. I'm kind of getting a little bit entrained, like, almost like a hypnotic effect. Those are texts that the atmosphere shift is taking place. She doesn't have a lot of pronounced movement, but certainly her body has a little bit more integrated movement. You see the different places of her body are more kind of in the flow of a wave. And there's two things that you can look for, not only the physical part, but also the energy part. So sometimes if you look with your soft vision, you notice how there's a movement that's going through and around her body. There's something I want to say about this moment. I'm not going to say it until after. Thanks, Laura.